Topic of the evening is something very different and unique. The Bharata economy, especially the agrarian economy, because if you see 60% of the Indian economy is agrarian and it's been so for millennia. Now there is a factor of three in agriculture, which is what we'll be seeing. So in agriculture, these three words are important for us all to know because agriculture is the most important frame of food. And we all have teen, as they say in Urdu, all Indian languages, that is about roughly about 100 days, 120 days. So in a year, we have about 360 days. So this land of Bharat has the facility, the faculty to give teen bog in a year. Many other countries, we take countries in Northern Europe, etc., they can have only one bog a year. Even Japan can have only one bog because other time zone cold. Whereas Bharat is uniquely placed that can have teen bog. And in this teen bog that we have here in Bharat, we have the crop. The crop itself has three layers to it, which is what we'll see. That is, the crop has three layers. The first layer, that is the grains, the anaj, is for humans. The second layer, that is the straw, is for the animals. Then the third layer, that is the hard stem and the root, the clump of the plant, that is to be interned back into the soil. So your one crop has got three layers, three parts to it. One part is for human consumption, obviously for birds, animals also. But the middle part, the straw, the hay that we call it, the straw, is for the cattle consumption. And the root, the stem of it, and the roots of it is to be interned back in the soil because that becomes nutrition for the next crop. That is how we have been having crop nutrition, soil nutrition through the millennia. Even though we have been having three crops a year, that means you don't leave the land fallow for long periods of time for it to gain nutrition. But this is how we induce back nutrition to soil. That's a very important factor. This is today people speak about sustainable cropping. This is exactly what we have been doing. Look at the beauty how we handle the sustainability at a crop level so well. 60% of agriculture was based like this. Then in that top one third, the grains that we get, the millets or the rice or the wheat or the bajra or whatever it may be, or the fruits, vegetables, everything that we get, one third of it goes to the landowner. Look at the beauty of it. The person whom the land belongs. One third goes to the water provider because somebody provides us water all the way up to our land. The effort to provide the water. So for that effort, because of which the crop grows, you get one third. And there's a tiller who tills on the soil, puts in his hard work and sweat, so they get one third. So we said, teen bow, there are three crops in a year out of 360 days, 120 days for each crop. Then in the grains that we get, we say one third comes. So look at that. So the three layers of one third that we get so beautifully in a crop. So now see here. So one third is back for the soil. One third is for the farm animals. One third is for the human consumption of a particular crop. Then here we see one third goes to the water provider, one third to the landowner, one third to the tiller. Now, why do we have this one third between the landowner and tiller? We will see that aspect also now. Now, there are two major festivals in Bharat related to this one third ratio, from which the festival itself gives you that. In Western India, Northern India, after Diwali, we have a festival called Bhai Dooj. Many of you know it. And in Southern India, we have a festival called Shankranti. When the Shankranti come? Around 15th, 16th of January. And when does Bhai Dooj come? A day after Diwali, that comes in the end October, November. Think of it for a moment. Why do these two festivals are positioned so at these times in the different parts of Bharat? When do monsoons comes to Bharat? In the month of June, July, August. So 3 months from June, July, you get your October, 120 days. That is when your crop is ready. Look at the beauty of it. So when your crop is ready, that is when you're able to sell that crop to get a carrot between the 1/3 between the tiller, provider, and the landowner of the crop. Who is traditional owner in Bharat? Any would like to say who owner in Bharat? Traditionally, yes. Leave all period of the last 250. Traditional owner of land in Bharat has always been the women. It has been the Stri Dana of women to own the land. So, when a woman marries and goes to her new house to establish her own home along with her husband, it may be 3, 4, 5, 10, 12 villages away. Can she take her land and go with her to establish a new home there? I mean, can she take her land and go? No. Her land is left only where it is, where she was born. But she owns the land. It's her birthright to own that land. So what happens then? She goes away, but the land is tilled, taken care of by her brothers, her father, her uncles, and all of them, her niece, her nephews, and all of them. So what happens then? So 120 days later from when the rains happen, on Bhai Dooj, a day after Diwali, the lady of the house, she's going to set up a new house, comes to her brother's house to celebrate the festival. At the same time, collect her 1/3 share of the crop because she is the landowner. So the festival of Bharat is aligned to the agrarian society format. This is management. This is the real Indian knowledge system of how you handle. Similarly, if you look at the south, you have Shankranti.
When is the harvest? When is the harvest in southern part of India? Most parts of south which receive the northeast monsoon. So for them, the monsoon is from October onwards. So their harvest comes naturally around January. So September, October, of course, they also start having water flow in the rivers that are flowing from the west to the east. So they start getting those waters and then the monsoons slowly start. And that leads to a harvest in January. So there again, you see the same pattern, which is celebrated. See, even today, in Bhai Dooj, you find the brothers going, visiting sisters, giving her gifts. Today, you give different kinds of gifts, but there is a psyche that the brother has to go and gift something to his sister.
Why?
So that is what we saw just now, that as a landowner, she has a 1/3 right, which is what in days of yore, the brother would go give the grains and other nice things which came after the sale of that harvest, maybe some cloth or whatever. Likewise, you will see that there is a custom in the south also, southern states, of the sister getting something after Shankranti. In Tamil Nadu and all that, they have something called, even in Kerala and Andhra and all, they have something called Kanu, where on a day after Shankranti, and that day the brother, today wherever the brother is, he will send some postcard, some money order and some money and everything. But in days of yore again, it used to be the sister visiting the brother and collecting her dues. Accounts are settled and she gets the dues. Actually, these are two separate things which are not seen together today. But these two customs have come into place because they naturally coincide. The habit of 1/3 way of settling and the festivals and traditions that you are seeing in this agrarian land, they actually dovetail beautifully together. Now comes the other aspect of the one-third provider. You saw the landowner, you saw the tiller. Who is the other one-third? He is
Water
the
provider.
water provider. Now, why is a water provider assuming so much significance in this land? I'll show you one small statistics here.
This is a statistics are probably about 20, 30 years old, but still very important statistics.
So, look at this. This is showing the amount of irrigated area in million hectares of different lands. So, Europe, it is 17.1, USA 21, China, India, and overall world. So, 1/6 of world's irrigated lands is in India. Now, what do we understand by the term irrigated? So, the very word irrigated itself means something where a technique where you're bringing water to your land. It is not natural water. I mean, it's not natural rainfall alone. So, irrigation means from somewhere you are bringing that water to where you want it to.
It is not rain-fed land alone. It is water-fed land. So water-fed land, when you say that in agrarian terms, in agriculture, it means somebody has to effort to bring it to you at the right time, in the right amount, at the in the right place. So there's a right person carrying it out. So all over Bharat, and mind you, when you say 1/6 of the world's irrigated lands is in India, do you think this has been created by India after independence? Or do you think it has been created during the colonial rule? No. This 1/6 of the world's irrigated lands means it's a humongous effort built by the civilization over the last 4,000-5,000 years. That's the beauty of it. And it's been sustained, maintained in good repair, so that every year, for every monsoon that you get, the waters reach where it has to. So there's a large task force of a community working to make it happen.
Through the clock, through the year.
Every day of the year, they ensure that you get what you want when you want, and they should know where the reservoir is kept. And who is this community? Is the question here. Because, and to whom you are giving 1/3 of the share of your agricultural produce, to that community alone, who are efforting to ensure that you get your water on time. So that is the beauty. Look at the management skill of this land evolved many millennia ago. So there's a particular community called the Odda, and they are all over Bharat.
I think Karnataka, it is Odru.
And they're all over Bharat, and they work both on rock as well as on soil. And they ensure that the canals feed water. See, you don't have rains every day of the year. Before we go to the Odda, I'll show you what is important is how much you have rains. So that they'll understand that point even better then. How important this is 1/3 format. So when do you get the rains? Any idea? June. So how long does it rain for you? Roughly about 3 months, isn't it? June, July, August, maximum early September. You have rains for about 90 to 100 days is what you have rains. Does it rain all the 100 days in a year? In that year. So from June to early September, does it rain all the 100 days? No. It rains only in certain windows, a few hours of that week or that day, or a couple of days in a week it rains. So cumulatively, I want to ask you a question. Before I'll ask you one point here. How many hours are there in a day? 24 hours in a How many hours are there in a week? Into 7. 24 into 7. How many hours are there in a month? Into 30. How many hours are there in 1 year? Into 365, which comes to 8,760 hours in a year. That's the number of hours we have in 1 year. 8,760 hours.
1 year before the next rain can come.
Come back. So
So
that's
from the start of one rain to start of another rain. And what do we call this period? What do we call this period of 1 year? We call it Varsha. Look at it. Being an agrarian society, for us, this period of 1 year, from one rain to another rain, is Varsha. So the time Varsha is coming from the notion of the rains coming every year.
so what your 1 year is also Varsha. Your rain is also Varsha. You get that. Now, so we know that we have 8,760 hours in a year. I'd asked you a point a couple of minutes ago. How many in your 120 days that you have your rainy season, maximum 100 days to 120 days maximum, how many hours does it actually rain? 100 hours is what it rains. Some places get 80 hours, 90 hours, 110, 120 hours. But on average, in Bharat, we get about 100 hours of rain. That's the Indian average.
That is the time when the water drops are actually falling from the sky to the ground.
Pouring rain.
Not just the season. The season is for 4 months. But the actual time windows when it really spills water from the skies is roughly on an average about 100 hours across Bharat.
So how many hours do you have in a year? 8,760 hours. How many hours does it rain for you? 100 hours. That means you don't have waters for the balance 8,660. Look at that. So Hema will show you a slide now. Distribution in a year, if you see, is just 100. That is 9% of the hours in a year are dry. For 100 hours that you have actual rain. So what happens? The rains come, they flow, they create a flood, and then rains for the balanced number of hours. Here comes this particular community called the Odda community, who have been a very industrious, hardworking community of Bharat for the last 5,000 years, who ensure that every drop of water that falls on this land is harvested and kept during that 100 hours and saved and serviced to the land, its houses, both domestic, agrarian, and industrial, for the balance 8,660 hours. Look at the community which ensured your water balance beautifully. How much water do we have in our body? 30%.
70%.
I'm sorry, 70% water we have. How much water is there on earth as a body? The same. So the ratio, so they will have balance that ratio for your crops. That is what that community was doing to ensure to give you this water all across the land of Bharat so beautifully. So they deserve to get that 1/3 of your produce. Look at that. And Hema will show you some of these. She'll show you the All India map where this community, where they're all over Bharat. Look at these communities all over. She'll just read out a few names.
So you have Vaddera, Vadde, Vadderaju, Vaddera, Vaddila, Odeyar, all in Andhra Pradesh. Then in Karnataka, you had Vadda, Tudugu Vaddar, Voddar, Vaddar, Odeyar, Vodru. And then those people who used to dig wells. What do you call wells? See, look at their name. Bovi.
Bhavi
Why do you
becomes
call it
Bhovi.
Bhavi? Because Bhavi, yes. All the Bhavi. So the people who created all those beautiful Bhavis or Vavs or Bhavi,
So it's just
everything, they're all
the verb iteration.
So these are the people, and you had Mannu Bhovi, you had Kallu Bhovi. That means people who could do it with stone, who could do it with sand, depending on the nature of the soil. So you had that kind of an expertise. So the community itself was so skilled that they were known by their skill. Similarly, in Kerala, you had Odda, Oddan, Oddakaran, etc. Both Tamil Nadu and Kerala, similar words. Maharashtra, Gujarat also. Vaddar, Vaddera, Odha. Many of you might have read a story about Jasma of
Odan
Odan.
in Gujarat.
So
It's an Amachitra Katha comic much
so
later.
all the Babs, they were all built by these Odans. And then look at this name of this state.
Odia, Odisha, Wadi. All the rivers are called Wadi.
You have a state called Wadi, Kurduwadi and all, I think in Karnataka along the railway line between Chennai and Mumbai. So Wadi, you have Wadis in Gulf also. There are many places which are called Wadis in Dubai. And also look at this community. They're called Wadiyas because they were actually shipbuilders.
So they're dealing with water again. How to understand. So you have this all over the land. So you have these people, and they were very proud because they were, mind you, they were so prosperous. They were getting 1/3 of the produce.
So two things here. Okay, this community, they have been so responsible for two things. One, they themselves were prosperous because they were getting 1/3, not one house. I see one people, they would do it for the entire village. You can't take water only to one, for the entire village. So imagine the hands giving them collectively 1/3 of the produce. So 1/3 of the village produce community. And the thing is, this is the community which was ensuring prosperity of the nation because they were saving the waters and they were harvesting and harnessing and giving it to people. If they didn't do their work, then there would be no prosperity.
So they were the prosperity providers of the whole civilization, the whole nation. Look at this, including Ashoka. Okay, he is mentioned about the Vadars and the Hathigumpa inscription in Odisha.
So there was a king called Kharavela of Kalinga. So we are talking about Odisha and all that, right? Od. So Kalinga, there was a famous king, Kharavela. And there is a cave, Hathi Gumfa cave, and there are inscriptions where he invokes Sri Odde. And he wants, so he's invoking for the blessings, the god of Odda community.
Because he himself is a descendant of that community. So became a great king. So many
one of his descendants was Baduga, ancestor was Buddharaja. So where do all these words come from? They all come from the basic root word Ud for water. And so we were experts, right? From Bhagirath, who carved out a channel for Ganga. Many path roads are also there. So now there is a very interesting point that is coming out. So these people who were so skilled, especially these stone cutters, these Kallubhovi, for instance, that you call the stone people who work on stone wells and so on, when they are not working on water bodies, creating wells or any canals, what do you think they would have been doing? These expert stone cutters. Where else do you see stone work? Inscriptions.
In temples, inscriptions.
Inscriptions. So many inscriptions. Bharat has had so many inscriptions. Unfortunately, we have lost many from the north, but the south, we still have them all over. So many of these have been worked by these people.
So they're very literate people who knew how to write, how to converse, how to express. Not only were they wealthy, where they were literate. Now what happened was, to the whole system of this 1/3 water provider, I'll just show you one slide in the end. In 1857, all of you know, we had the war of Indian War of Independence against British colonial rule. So what did they do that year? They realized the prosperity of Bharat was this factor of 3, what we have spoken about. So they need to break it. What do you do? That 1/3, the fulcrum which gave you the prosperity, that community which gave you the prosperity, they broke it by saying that you don't walk on water anymore to create your own prosperity. We will start a department called Public Works Department. And they took away the water rights from the local people. The local customs were ignored. And then they made it into an act. That is why it came about the PW department and the act. So look at this. So they created a twin blow on the prosperity, the management of the whole society, the management of prosperity of the land, the knowledge of the land. So what do? They created a twin blow. In 1857, they said they started an act by which they alienated all the water bodies from the people. This you people are separate, your water bodies are owned by the government. And the other thing they did by 1950 or 100-year period is that they de-divinized all the water. Till then, all the water was mother. Every river was mother. Every lake was a mother.
There was a divinity associated
with all the water for us. So they secularized all the secularization of the water happened both by law and by mindset. So that by twin blows, we remove that 1/3 that was giving the prosperity for the land. In our factor of 3, if you see, one you own the land, one you till the land, you look after it. And who was the key nutrition provider? Was water. You take that out of the thing, that when the other 1/3 also crumbles. So that is how the crumble of the civilization of Bharat happened. What has happened is after taking away all the working rights, this large community of this people who are Odda, Oddan, all of them, what happened was what they became jobless within a generation or two. Then their skills were lost. Then they were reduced as scheduled caste. From being the most prosperous community, the community that gave knowledgeable community, that gave us prosperity of the civilization, within 2 generations, because of an alien act, they became scheduled caste. We'll just show you one slide. Right from the days of Harappa Mohenjo-daro, where you got this well, tall well, to all the Vavs and Baulis of Bharat. All over Bharat, you have these Vavs and Baulis. And look at this. As I said, every term, including the term Damodar, Uddar, Odak, Ud, Vadia, Vadi, Odayar, everywhere, Oda, even in Sri Lanka, everywhere. And we are all born from a mother's womb. So what are brothers and sisters called? Saha Uddara, Saha Uddari. Meaning your complementary, Saha is complementary, Uddara, born from your mother's womb. Same womb. That's why your Sahodara, Sahodari, all Indian languages. Look at the beauty of it. So that is how, so now when you go back to the slide of 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, you'll realize so nicely. So no wonder this civilization was providing for the factor of 3, this 1/3 to the water provided for the harvest to happen. Now you see the larger picture that's coming out about this factor of 3 in this land. So going back, we knew that 1/3 of the crop was for humans, 1/3 go back soil, 1/3 for animals which toil on the land, that's crop. Then of the harvest, you provided these. That is, this 1/3 alone comes here, this 1/3. So that is how we created a factor of 3 for the civilization. But so apparent when we hear it, now when we research and speak about it. But before that, it was not. And we had festivals for this, for sharing it with this water provider, sharing it between the tiller and the landowner. One was Baiduj, other is Kanu. 2 festivals. Unfortunately, today, Baiduj, what is advertisement you get is to give some chocolates to your brothers and sisters. We lost the idea, the ethos of our civilization, which is all about the Indian knowledge system, that this is the real Indian knowledge system that the civilization had and was successful for millennia, because of which others could come to plunder, loot, partake in this wealth, etc. And the other one, to look at the beauty, which Hema will explain to you now.
So all this water and all this enablement, look at how in a very nice synergy. So there is always a factor of 3 that you see. So as a civilization itself, we had organized ourselves. We could classify people of this land into three kinds of people. One, Gramavasi, the producer. So all the tiller, landowner, and the water provider, all of them went into the Gramavasi who would produce. Then you had the Nagaravasi. Of course, produce here is not just agriculture, but use the water for industry and also do metallurgy. Then, of course, in agriculture, you also grow cotton. Then you had people who could weave and make fabrics. You also grew natural dyes, plant based dyes, using which you would make dyes, you would dye the fabric, you would sell the fabric.
Indigo for blue, madder for red, all that. The pitambar for yellow.
And mind you, this prosperity not just comes. See, why do you need water alone? You need water for two things. This land has leveraged water in two ways. And the contribution of this Odda community, when I said it is also to generate prosperity, it is not only prosperity by growing things, it is also prosperity by enabling trade to happen. And how does all that trade happen? It is through the waterways. India has got seas everywhere, but you need these waterways to take the produce. We'll just show you. Look at this. This is the watershed map of Bharat. So wherever it is thickest is where the rivers are joining the sea. So unlike our bodies where the blood vessels are thinnest at the extremes, like the capillaries, they're all thinnest here, but they are thickest near the heart where you have your aorta. Like that, but unlike that, here they are thinnest where they start in all the mountain tops, the Himalayas, the Vindhyas. So from Vindhyas, it's running down either direction. From the Sayadris, it is running down. Some again from the Eastern Ghats here a little bit. But when they all join, so these are the river basins of different rivers in different colors. So they all join from different rivers and they come together, and this is where they open up along the coast. So everywhere inside also these rivers, the pathways, the desilting, all of that has been handled by the Oddas. If they didn't do that, whatever produce was happening here would not come, reach the river mouth and then get traded. So whether you're in the west coast or whether you're in the east coast, so they have contributed to prosperity in so many ways. And therefore, when you say the producers, you count them all in. Now, these producers, the wares have to be traded. So these are the people. They are from mainly, so if you look at it, all the Nagara, prominent Nagaras where the points where trade used to happen. So they used to be the junctions. And they would be along various rivers. Like you had Kashi, like you had Kanchi. And then, of course, all the port cities, various patnams along the ports. Mahabalipuram, Pumpuhar, and you had Muziris in Kerala. So all of that. So the cities were from the places from where trades were happening. So they were Nagaravasi. Then you had all of this was sustained by the Vanavasi, because we saw how the Odda became scheduled caste. And here we see scheduled tribes. So these people who were actually sustaining this bit.
So if you stop.
So when we saw these start of the rivers, right?
They all
start in forests in the hills. And they're very minute, very thin. And they're basically springs, water springs. See, when there is rain, they go into the ground, and at various points, they all start springing out. They continuously are springing out. And those springs have to be kept clean. Maintained, because any small obstruction will prevent that rivulet from joining the main river. So keeping it clean inside the forest, making sure enough water goes into the ground, all of that was looked after by these Vanavasi. So they were the sustainers.
They are the noble Vanavasi, mind you. So But unfortunately, during the British colonial rule, all these noble Vanavasi were looking after 1/3 of the land, that is the forest, have been very derogatorily termed as tribals and scheduled tribes. Whereas they were the people who kept the forest like wealth, the mining wealth, and the water source wealth of the land, and ensured all the rivers flowed through the year, through their forest, to sustain
reach the grama and then the nagara.
Nagara. So look at the civilization. We had a 1/3 ratio. We had between a Gramavasi who was a producer, Nagaravasi who was an accumulator, aggregator and trader, consumer, and the Vanavasi
who was the sustainer.
who was sustained. So balance between the three was also there. That is why every year there used to be Grama Jatra Yatra festivals to going up to the Vana, beginning at the Vanavasi. Every Vana will have a Vanavasi temple where you go give all goodies to the god.
And we
Right.
still have a relic of that right in the heart of Bangalore.
Now you in southern Bangalore, you have called Bana Shankari, one of the famous. And now, of course, it is inside Bangalore city. A couple of 100 years back, it was Vana Shankari. That is the Shankari Devi who was looking after the Vana. So what do you do?
Shankari itself means one who does good.
Good. Shamkarot Shankari. So that's what. So as she says. So what do? You go give saris, you go give dress, you go give bangles, you go give food, you go give everything to the Devi. You leave it there and come. Then what do the Vanavasi do? They take it as a blessing from the Devi. Look at the system where it works. You don't go and pay in cash to the Vanavasi. You leave it with the Devi. They take this as a blessing from Devi. Look at how the system worked. There was a beautiful and that sustained the land for 5,000 plus years. Nowhere else in the world it happened. Sustain a land, a civilization, gave prosperity continuously year after year, season after season, Varsha after Varsha. That is called a societal structure of sustained development management. You did not have any one management guru designing it for you. The people designed it for themselves across the land, across the civilization, right from Afghanistan to Burma, from Tibet, Kashmir to Sri Lanka. That was what the civilization of this land was. So you had this beautiful 1/3 ratio, and you knew how to do this. So you have another factor of 1/3, where you had a system of education that kept on giving the knowledge every generation. Then you had the trade guilds that traded in it, every variety of trade. So they're safeguarding their trade.
So when he just said that for millennia, this balance was sustained. So one is the structure is enabling a balance. The structure is also enabling the preservation. So the preservation, when you say, one, you have to safeguard. Now, when you talk about this entire knowledge spectrum, there is one is skill and there is also a knowledge which can be passed on through in the form of an education, formal education through teaching and so on. But as a knowledge, whereas this is a skill. So you had the guilds that kept the skill part of it safeguarded. You had an education system of all the Gurukula and so many things, Gurukula, then Vidyalaya, Vishwavidyalaya, and so on, all of them which kept the education, the knowledge sustained. See, these education system is different from knowledge. Knowledge is there, but you need a system to distribute it through. Likewise, socially and culturally also, through various yatra, that is through traveling through the land, you kept sharing this information. So when a farmer went from one part, because when you went on a pilgrimage, you passed through so many lands. And this gave them an opportunity to interact. A farmer got an opportunity to interact with farmers all across the land. And learn
got
tips.
to interact with every Vodda community across, so they knew. Weaver got to interact with weaver. A dye maker got to interact with the dye maker across the land. So they kept the trade skills of the land informed of the developments of land. So they had knowledge sharing within the civilization, and they had a knowledge management system within the civilization which kept it sustainable surviving to be a prosperous civilization. This is the real essence of Indian knowledge system. When you speak about IKS, which is what this program is about, this is real IKS where you could balance it wonderfully, say like this factor of 3. So we just brought up one particular facet for all of you to see. There is something called factor of 3, which kept the civilization sustained on various factors. Thank you so much. You can all go to the website, so you get a lot more content. If you're those who are interested, we'll be glad to share more content. And instantly, there's a quiz happening now in the MyGov platform, which is the quiz that we have designed. You can attempt the quiz and get good prizes too. So here I'll show you in 1 minute. You can please visit our website, bharatgyan.com, BHARATHGYAN.
bharatgyan.com. And there is on MyGov now, monthly quizzes are there. This month it is on yoga. And here you have a lot of our films, especially on the rains and all these various aspects that we discussed today. Then we have books that you can read online. You have other books that you can read on Kindle as well. And many articles. All this will take you to the various books. There's one actually on, since we talked about agriculture, there is one here on agriculture itself. The high agri yield of Bharat. Why did we have a very high agri yield? What is the proof for the yield and the reason for that as well? Yeah. So this 1/3 discussion is there inside this too. It's a flip book. You can just open and read it online.
It's a free read book.
You can straight away go and read it here. So like this, it's here. Okay, so please make use of all this content.
And those who are interested, out of 60 wonderful students, those who are interested in further bits of knowledge on our civilization, you're always welcome to visit our website and also connect with us. We'll be glad to offer more points, views as and when you want. Once again, thank you so much.